Hi guys, welcome to Mindset Coaching with Monica. My name is Monica, obviously, duh. And in today's video, I want us to talk about lost men, why men are lost in this generation today, and some of the things that I suggest that you as a lost man who, you feel like you're kind of lost in society, the things that you can do to get your life back together, okay? So a lot of men are lost in society, and this is how you know that you are a lost cause or you're lost in society. It's a no-brainer, but sometimes it's just good to point out the obvious. One, if you feel like, career-wise, direction-wise, like you feel lost, like you feel like you haven't accomplished much, you have that inner feeling that, hey, I haven't achieved much, I haven't gone into the direction that I want in life. That's a good sign, and we're going to talk about it later. Secondly, if you find yourself blaming women for your failed relationships, that means that you are not taking 100% responsibility for your life, so you're blaming other people. Blaming is very disempowering to anybody as an individual. If your relationships are not working, it means that you haven't done enough you're not self-aware. And we're going to still talk about that. And let's see some of the causes that causes men to be lost in their relationships and their career, which are two most defining things in life. For you to succeed in life, one, you must be able to forge successful relationships. And if you're not able to forge successful relationships, whether with men or other women, there is something broken. And let's go to some of the causes that can cause that brokenness. And this is a no-brainer. A strained relationship or a non-existent relationship with your father can be a very destabilizing force in a man's life. A lot of men, not all of them, but there's a good number of men who have come from abusive fathers. I don't know about you, but if you come from a relationship where your father was a drunkard and then he'd come home, he'd threaten everybody at home, he'd drink a lot, he'd call you names or beat you up, stuff like that, is you grew up with a very weak father figure who used fear instead of love, who was not very comforting, or maybe another characteristics of things that men do, and funny enough is that men continue to do these things that their father did, is maybe he was cheating on their mother, going out with so many women. So some men think it's better to not get married and still do what their father did, because that's the program they are on, that kind of promiscuity. So if you're not settling down and kind of continuing the same behavior that your father did, that shows that you got the wrong program. Your mind has been programmed from your childhood into this chaotic life, and instead of taking responsibility for your life and becoming more self-aware, becoming spiritual and healing, you just are blind to your actions and the impact that your childhood has had on you. And so you're continuing to drive to become this monster that your father was, but you're kind of trying to justify it that, oh, I am not married and I don't have kids, so it's okay to go out drinking all the time. It's okay to waste my life. It's okay if I'm not married to just have a string of relationships and not worry about anybody. That is kind of like trying to get yourself off the hook about being an adult, a responsible partner, somebody who is hardworking, provider, a pillar in society. That still does not cut it. And a lot of men are lost in that kind of thing. Another cause that can cause a man to have a destabilizing effect is if they had a mother who was kind of, let's say, promiscuous. Let's say she was a prostitute, or she had like men coming in in and out of the house. Maybe she was single and she had all these men coming in, and you know, some of them were not good. Maybe they would beat her, maybe there'd be arguments. That is a very destabilizing environment for something beautiful to grow and thrive in. And a lot of times we don't understand that. You know, childhood is like a garden of your mind where it's supposed to flourish and grow and, you know, expand. And when you look at your childhood and you realize that the dominating emotions were fear, pain, like you have all these emotions growing inside of you, what a lot of men don't realize that emotion signature that you have that is negative, that's full of pain, it is causing a lot of stress in your body. And we have talked about stress and what it does to your body, but I'm going to continue to reiterate this because stress is the cornerstone of mental health. A lot of people just think, oh, it's work or bills or whatever. So if you have an emotional signature that is dominated by low-level emotions like anger, pain, anxiety, what it means is that your brain is releasing a lot of chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline. And we know what cortisol does to the heart. It makes the heart beat faster and faster. That can cause high blood pressure. That can affect your ability to digest food. That can affect your ability to sleep. So, and that could lead to strokes in the future. That could lead to cancers. That could lead to a host of other related, you know, negative impacts on your body and on your mind in general and your ability to relate with others. So you have to see the garden of your mind and where it's coming from now. If you think about you having this negative mind that is like a tree of death, you know, if you don't heal it, it's going to poison all of your life, other things in your life. So we must heal. We must heal from the childhood trauma. We must heal from the bad decisions that you have made as a result of that trauma and move on with life. We must begin there. And so sometimes being an understanding person can free you. You know, it can free you. I was talking to this one gentleman. He was obviously one of those people who were abused by his father, but then he was trying to make excuses for his father. And the thing is, I could tell that there was some resentment still going there, but he did not want to admit to himself. And I'm like, as long as you don't admit to yourself that I'm angry with my father, I'm disappointed in my father, he did this and this and this, as long as you're not able to even admit it and acknowledge your own pain, it's going to be very, very hard to heal from some pain that you don't even want to acknowledge. It's a raw emotion that you have to acknowledge. Before we even start moving into understanding, maybe he was abused by his father, maybe he had a lot going on, or a lot of pain that he also had not healed, and realizing how that can pave way. Maybe he had a lot of, my neighbor, let me just let it go, he's moving stuff. So just realizing that your father had problems too, and he didn't heal from them. And this is what, that kind of like you hear from spiritual people saying that this is kind of like a curse that is moving from generation to generation to generation until somebody breaks the cycle and decides to heal, and they stop doing the same things from this dark mind that has not been illuminated by the light. And then you break the cycle and you start making better decisions, right? So the quickest way, for me, and I always like to share my story because I did not have parents growing up, so I had a lot of gaps, right? And sometimes growing up, like becoming the adult and growing up and deciding to take more responsibility in your life, 100% responsibility for your life, that helps. That really helps. Taking that agency and stewardship when it comes to your life, and you're deciding, okay, now this is my life, I'm the adult now, I'm not going to drink and beat my children mindlessly. I'm going to make better choices because what? I can, you know. And this pain, I am going to train my mind to let it go. When David Goggins says that he had to build calluses in his mind to let go of the pain of people calling him nigger, people threatening his life, people doing all these mean things to him, it's reminding yourself every day who you are. For me, the things that I had to do was to remind myself that the people that I need to forgive, just like Christ says, forgive 7 times 7, he says the people I need to forgive, they did those things because they were in darkness. Because if they had felt the love and the kindness and compassion, and their mind had been trained in that kind of way, they would not have made the decisions they made. I'm not making excuses for them, but I'm trying to understand the darkness that they are coming from, for them to pass it on so effortlessly. I understand that. So I think for men, they would benefit to understand, like, your father was probably abusing and beating you because of the darkness he was coming from. I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying this is a good behavior, but I'm saying for the sake of your heart and your nervous system, for the sake of not producing like strong chemicals that can negatively impact your health like cortisol, we are going to try to forgive these people. I don't care whether you fool yourself into forgiving, but the end goal is to not carry the bitterness and the pain, and also not to expect any apologies from people who probably do not have any type of self-awareness to go back and to see their mistakes and apologize to them. Because at this point, if you're having this level of questions, you're probably more intelligent than your father or your mother or somebody who hurt you so deeply. You know, so you can expect somebody who is at a lower level of intelligence than you to probably come and look at their actions and their mistakes and apologize to you. You know, it takes a higher human being to do that. And you don't need their permission to become your higher self, because you can train your mind in another way. I find that the scriptures, for me, because I'm a Christian, the Bible, the scriptures, the message of forgiveness, the message of the love of God, kind of wires my brain into this more amazing way of living, that I choose the right path, that a path of forgiveness, a path of joy, a path of peace, and this will benefit my health. It doesn't benefit anybody. So if I was to tell somebody who is lost, I'm like, start reading your Bible with more understanding of wisdom, because the Bible is not a literal book, you know? Even you can tell, like, the teachings of Jesus, he wasn't literal about his teachings. He used parables, he used hidden meanings to unveil the wisdom that is in that book. So, you know, it shapes your mind and your way of life. You might begin by seeing like you're not making any progress, but then you look at 10 years difference and you're like, oh, wow, I made great progress, you know, using the Bible, getting led by the Spirit. You wanted to light up your path into a life of forgiving people, of loving people, of oneness, you know, with your relationship with God. You want that to light up your path. And the thing is, when it comes to forgiveness, a lot of people say that you have to forgive, you have to forgive. No, this is a journey that the Spirit of God leads you to. It takes you home. That when you choose that path, you find that the Spirit of God makes you grow so much in your spirit that the Spirit and the pain, the Spirit overcomes the pain by itself. The Spirit of God overcomes the pain. So spirituality is very, very powerful when it comes to our mind. Even science says there is a placebo effect that happens, but I don't think it's a placebo. I think it's the Spirit. And just because you can measure the Spirit of God doesn't mean that it's not there. Just because we cannot see and put words into, you know, the miracle that can happen when it comes to healing, there is a lot of, for me, I have seen a lot of the scriptures change my life. I have seen the scripture literally change my brain and the way I'm thinking about a situation. Now, let's say when it comes to living your life with purpose and feeling that you haven't achieved much in your life, because I said I want to go back into that. When you define purpose based on spiritual values, then your purpose in life is very, very achievable. When you define your purpose in terms of money and the dollar amount, it can be very difficult, because if you're thinking like, oh, I will have attained my purpose once I hit $1 million, you probably will hit $1 million, but then you might still feel empty, because purpose does not come with money. There's so many people who've achieved success, monetary success, but then they feel empty, because what gives you meaning is the Spirit of God. The teachings that comes from the Spirit of God, when you're guided into love, into forgiveness, into kindness, just go and see the teachings of Jesus. Those teachings, they will give you meaning in life. You know, a lot of men, if you're jumping from maybe one relationship to another, and you feel that you're not finding meaning in your life, exactly. Even the Holy Scriptures doesn't recommend that men move from, one woman to another, to another, to another. If you read the book of Proverbs, it says that the mind of a man will become confused, and men don't understand that that is a destabilizing force. When you want to have meaning in your life, you want to focus on long-term goals. You may not achieve all of them, but even if you achieve like 3 or 4 long-term goals, you will feel successful. If you get married in a long-term relationship, you will feel successful. If you get a job and you take care of your children and you buy a home or stuff like that, like long-term goals. Long-term goals are what makes you feel like you have achieved something. The thing with long-term goals, they take time. They don't happen overnight. So every day you waste your life, every day you waste your time, every day you waste opportunities, every time that you're just sleeping around, every time you're lazy, it's like you're chipping away at your long-term goals, But every time you save a little money, every time you go to work and save money, every time you are loving to your girlfriend or your wife and your children, you're building this hedge of love around you. You're achieving more and more long-term goals, because long-term goals, you cannot achieve long-term goals in bitterness. You have to be in a state of gratitude. You cannot achieve long-term goals in a state of anxiety. You need to be calm, and pursuing that life of calmness, that is what will take you to feeling that you have achieved something big. When you work on those on short-term goals every day, you have your own goals, you set them up. Eventually, you will look at your life and you'll be like, hey, I'm a man, I got married, I built my house, my wife and my kids a home, I helped people in my community when I was working do this. You will have a successful story that you have written for yourself. But every time that you stay in bitterness about your father, what he did, you're not getting your life together, you're not trying to pursue strong, loving relationships, with a female that you can have goals together and work to them, you're wasting your life. So I do feel sorry for some men who lack psychological and good mentorship. Maybe your family wasn't a good solid foundation for you, so you got into drugs to get away from the pain, or you got into behaviors like promiscuity, and you don't know what kind of depravity is moving you. It's because you didn't have any kind of love and connection. And I'm here to say that you can use good books. The Bible is a good book. It reminds you of the love of God. It assures you. It calms you down. And then it tells you the kind of life that you can live with meaning and purpose, But anyway, I hope you find wisdom in this and pursue a life that is worth living. Don't compare yourself with other people. Compare the values that you have and those values, if you trust the voice of God, they lead you to a fruitful life. Because remember, the promise of Jesus and the Spirit of God is that you bear fruit. And whenever we look at people, the thing that we are looking at is whether they bear fruit. You know, the fruits of the Holy Spirit are clear. They're love, joy, peace, kindness. You know, are you loving to the people, to women around you, or are you just using them? Because let me tell you, short-term pleasure will be at the expense of your long-term goals. For men who are just seeking pleasure, whether it's drugs or women, if you cannot focus on your long-term goals, it's going to come at your expense of your long-term happiness. There is this thing that the brain does when you achieve long-term goals. You start producing serotonin in your brain. And serotonin is a happiness and satisfaction hormone. So the way God built even your nervous system is that you get reward for focusing on long-term goals. And if you're a man and you're not married, you're looking to sleep around for short-term pleasure, I'm telling you, the devil is not your friend, because he's putting your mind into that place where you're rewarded by dopamine, like a mouse, right? Like a mouse, helping your brain just get short-term reward at the expense of your long-term rewards, where you find that men who have achieved long-term goals are more stable, they are more calm, they are happier. And if you want to find happiness and stop feeling like you're a loser in life, stop pursuing short-term pleasure, whether it's drugs, whether it's women, I don't know, whether it's gambling, whatever behaviors or food, whatever you're addicted to. You just have to do that. You have to stop and focus more on long-term goals. Once you start achieving more long-term goals, you will feel that your brain will tell you that you have achieved meaning in your life, and your brain is going to start producing serotonin, a happiness hormone that is more stable than dopamine. Well, I hope you find I hope you find something that you can get from this video. Again, my name is Monica, and this is Monica's Mindset Coaching. And until next time, may God bless.